Greetings, greetings, greetings of peace and love. You're now tuned in to 13 Signs Astrology.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. On this episode, I'm going to talk about the metaphysics pertaining to money, resources, dealing with the second house. And I'm going to talk about this from a perspective of a king or a queen. Because you got different, see, people, you need to understand how the world works when it comes to economics and finance. And we have a lot of people out there that, you want to be sovereign and you want to embrace the whole sovereignty movement. You want to be independent. But you got to understand that when you get into that thing there, the whole dynamics change. It's a whole nother reality. It's a whole nother world. Living as a king, living as a sovereign, living as a queen. Essentially, when you call yourself a sovereign, that's what you are. That's what you are. You are a king. You are a queen, and there's a certain way that you have to move. And I'm going to kind of liken this unto a chessboard. You got the king, and the king he only can move front, back, side to side for the most part. But then you got the queen, and she has like all of these moves. The queen is like the most powerful piece, and she has all of these moves. And she can move like diagonally, she can move front, she can move back, side to side, and she can, a lot of times you may be in her vision and in her path. You may put a piece in her path and don't realize it. She can boom take your piece or whatever. So the queen is really the more powerful piece of the game, but the game ends without a king, because without a king, nothing goes down. And this has everything to do, the world bankers know this has everything to do with sovereignty and banking and economics, or what may have you. Now, if you look on television, what's been going on lately, I'm kind of switch the subject here. I'm gonna go back to the chessboard. If you look on television, you look at what's been happening lately, you'll notice that they leaked this story out about the Target stores, talking about these hackers that's been hacking into people's accounts and whatnot, and taking their PIN numbers when they swipe their card or whatever. They'll take their PIN number, and they're making this known now. This is something that's been going on. See, it's a war going on, silent war going on, and it's a war dealing with corporations versus kings and queens. And what's happening is that many kings and queens have set up different bank accounts, in these international banks. And a lot of these international banks, they're starting to lose money. They're starting to lose money, and they're starting to lose control or whatever. The central banking system started losing control, and it's tied into bitcoins. So what's really happening, that's a cover story. What's really happening with these particular hackers that's taking people's PIN numbers and things like that, what's really happening is that this is tied into bitcoins. This is called Bitcoin mining, according to some of my inside sources that I've been speaking with. Now, I don't totally understand this, because this is very technical subject to get into, because you have to understand unique algorithms and unique transactions. But the concept of the Bitcoin mining is that if a king has a bank account and sets up a bank account, it's different from a normal person's bank account. And when that king goes out and swipes his debit card or her debit card, that queen goes out and swipes her debit card, or that sovereign uses that card, what happens is that you can have agents around. I'm gonna go back to the chessboard, because you got the king, everything revolves around the king in chess. So every time the king moves, agents move with the king. And you can have agents around that verify the transaction through their phone, and they verify the transaction of a king or a queen. This is why they're not going to tell you this. This is what bitcoins are based on. See, bitcoins are backed by something. So when that king makes that transaction with his particular account, this is a transaction that's verified by agents, and they can take that and they can do what's called Bitcoin mining. and it produces monies off of that one transaction. So for instance, you may do a transaction for $50. One person may verify it and get $50 worth of Bitcoins, and another person may verify it and get $25 worth of Bitcoins. Another person may verify it and get $2 worth of Bitcoins, and that's called Bitcoin mining. And that increases the stock of Bitcoins. But what's happening is that Bitcoins are taking away from the power and control that these central bankers and these people that play the banking game have. So what you got to realize is that banks, they are, or the banks are just mediums, and any third party can come in and use the bank to take control of economies and use the bank to extort people and to do things like that. So when I did my video on extortion and more fire, a lot of people really didn't understand that video. That video ties directly into this stuff that they're talking about that's going on with Target and things like that. And people don't realize that they're not talking about it right now, but it's a war going on between corporations, the agents, and then the real unique sovereign. And the sovereigns are, and the royals and the emperors and the empresses are basically trying to create a new currency. And Bitcoins is that new currency. If you've been studying Bitcoins, you'll notice that back in 2009, you could have got one Bitcoin for like $9 or $10. Now a Bitcoin is like $1,000-something. What the hell is going on? Bitcoins went up from like maybe $100 in 2012 to like in a year alone, from 2012 to 2013, Bitcoins went up from like $100 to $1,000. There's something going on here. There's a silent war, and I'm trying to hip you guys onto it. But I'm not going to say too much. There's a lot more I could say. But what I'll say here is that know that when you see these stories on television about hackers taking people's PIN numbers and things of that nature, and people using Western Union, because they can get you through Western Union too, and different schemes and frauds that are going on with Western Union, know that this is, certain people are targeted. This is not everybody. Everybody's PIN number is not subject to be hacked and can be extorted. There's certain accounts. When you go as a king or a queen and you are a sovereign, you set up a bank account, they give you a special bank account. They're not going to tell you this. They don't tell you anything. They're going to give you a special bank account, and the agents know this, so they basically center themselves around you, and they do what's called Bitcoin mining, so they can get Bitcoins. People that's high up in the military and different intelligence agencies know all about this. So it's really a secret war that's going on. And if you are rolling like a sovereign, and I'm saying this in 2014 because it's a lot, the sovereign movement is getting bigger and bigger. There's a lot of people internationally that are expatting from the U.S. and they're trying to figure out ways to not pay back their debts by using sovereignty and using promissory notes and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, what you have to realize is that if you're going to roll like a sovereign, cash is king, man. A woman, cash is king at the end of the day, because outside of that, someone can extort you. Someone can take from your bonds. You may be a secured party. You have to understand what a sovereign is and a secured party, because true kings and queens are what's called secured parties. If you're a secure party, I'm not going to go into too much of it here. Maybe we'll do a video on it, but those people that have ears can hear, and those people that may not understand, just start researching and looking up some of these words I'm talking about. This is how I do my videos. I don't like to just go and break down everything to the core. I like to drop seeds on people so people can kind of go and look it up for themselves and do their own homework and research. You'll learn a lot more that way. But if you're a secured party, the thing is that you're in control of your own fate. You are in control of your own monies. And someone could easily come in and extort you, and you have to be able to enforce the law yourself. So as a secure party, you may have to hire agents. If you want to do commerce and banking, you can still do commerce and banking. You don't have to always have cash. Cash is king, though. If you want to make personal transactions, make all your personal transactions in cash. That way nobody can take from you. And this is stuff that people should know, but I mean, of course, they don't really know. But really, a true sovereign deals in gold, but there's no gold available. So therefore, we have to deal in these fiat notes. But what's getting even deeper is that the game's getting even deeper. And it's like people are dealing in these banks, and banks, they don't have any monies in the bank. It's all just numbers and algorithms and transactions. So what's happening with the Bitcoins is defunding a lot of the control that the central bankers have. And getting back to my point, that if you're a true sovereign, you may have to employ people. This is why the sovereign is a king or queen, and they have all these different other type of pieces around them, like bishops, knights, rooks, or what they call castles, and they even have pawns. You're gonna have to employ these pieces around you to do set up certain maneuvers and tactics when you're dealing in this game, this economic game. So what I'm saying in layman's terms is that you may have to employ the agent to do business on your behalf as a third party. You may have to go through a third party to do certain things and make certain types of transactions. Why? Because you could be extorted. See, the D boys, man, the D boys had it right. Like a lot of people knock dope boys and stuff like that, and people that was, selling dope and all of that. And I mean, I'm not condoning that type of stuff at all whatsoever, because I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of other ways to make money. But the bankers sell dope, they sell drugs, and they go to countries and take over countries and extort their drugs and then put the drugs on the street. They do this all through third parties. See, if you really are going to become a sovereign, you have to understand these bankers, these economic hitmen. They nothing but gangsters, man, and they will extort you. And the thing is that you're gonna have to deal in cash and in movable assets, not liquid assets, movable, tangible assets, gold. Sovereigns deal in gold. You maybe have to invest into herbs or products to move monies. Say, for instance, if you're a sovereign, you want to move some money out the country, you may not be able to transfer it from one bank in the country to the next. You might have to buy you a whole bunch of vehicles, cop those vehicles, and ship them out, ship the money out as vehicles, and then get it out the country that way and sell the vehicles on the international market once you get to where you're going. You may have to move your money that way. You may have to move your money in gold. You may have to buy basically movable assets versus liquid assets. When you're dealing in banking, you're dealing in liquid assets. So what's happening is, I'm trying to tie this Chase story into these people hacking and taking people's PIN numbers, and they're saying that Chase is, and Target lost all of this money and stuff. You're about to see more of these corporations going through cover stories like this, because what's happening is that they're losing a lot of money, because you have a lot of people that are getting smart. The banks are losing a lot of money, and a lot of people are dealing in bitcoins, and a lot of people are dealing in cash. They just passed something to where now they can't even use. See, before, if you put a certain amount of money in the bank, the bankers was allowed to go out. If you had just had a personal account and you put your money into a personal account, the bankers could go out and loan up to 10 times the amount that you have in your account. But they just passed this law now to where bankers can't even do that. So the banks are getting regulations put on them. So they're very upset. So there's a lot of corporate wars going on or whatever. So you got to remember that cash is king. A lot of people, they just use their debit card to do everything. Swipe, swipe, swipe. People getting out of keeping receipts and keeping good books. But it's going to go back to that. If you want to truly roll in this new economy, what's really getting ready to happen is that the money that's passed through the air is getting ready to change. And Bitcoins and PayPal and different networks like that are going to gain control over the banks. Like, people don't realize, but don't you know a lot of the banks do not like PayPal? They don't like Google Wallet. They don't like Bitcoins, because of the fact that this is dealing with digital internet money. What's going to happen is that the money on the internet is going to become the new currency. And if you want to play in that world, in the banking world, and you are a king or a queen, and you don't want to be extorted, and you don't want people to come in and take over your throne, you're going to have to go through third parties. You're going to have to form contracts and learn how to sign certain contracts. And not unilateral contracts, real contracts, and learn how to forge contracts to where you still keep your sovereignty, because some contracts you form, you could lose your sovereignty. So this is for those that have ears to hear. This is for those that have eyes to see. That cash is king, man. Debit cards and all of that type of stuff. All of that stuff is for agents. If you're truly a sovereign, you're going to have movable assets. Like they say, gold, oil, and drugs. These are resources in the earth. And if you're going to deal in commerce and in day-to-day commerce, you're going to have a pocket full of money. That's just how it's going to have to go for the 2014. So Those particular people that know anything about the streets and the underworld don't forget that type of stuff. You know, in the streets and in the underworld, they have this thing to where they put their cars and all that type of stuff and they uncles' names and then they aunties' names and stuff like that. And people wonder, like, man, why don't they just put it in their name? That doesn't show responsibility. You know, they try to tell you in the Matrix, you need to be responsible and have your own bank account so you can be your own person. Not telling you on the back end that every time you set up an account, they're taking money off of your own money, off of your own bond money, and giving it to you. Every time you go get a car note and you go sign for that car note, what they're doing is they're not giving you a loan for that money. They're just underwriters. They're not giving you a loan for that. Like, say for instance, the car is $20,000. They're not giving you $20,000. Only thing they doing is going and tapping into your treasury bonds and giving you your money and loaning it to you. And that's what you have to understand. And they want you to, as a minor, they do business for you on your behalf because even when you become 21, you're still a minor to them because you don't understand this game. And you may be a king and may be set up as a king or queen and don't even realize it. And they're just taking money off of you. And these are things that people aren't going to tell you, but Ram Hotep is going to tell the star seeds and the young people because all of this is really tied into your natal chart. Even in the natal chart, you see different types of monies. You got the money that's in the second house, which is your personal finances, like crystals, like this crystal. This is money. People don't realize it. That's why it attracts more money. When you set up your money corner, you use real cash from different places around the world. You know, you use wands. You know, you use pounds. You use dollars. You use real life cash money. Not, you can't use digital money and put that on your altar. So this is the second house money. But then you have what's called eighth house money. And eighth house money is other people's money. That's when you get into banking and understanding insurance companies and things of that nature and exchanges and stuff like that. When you understand that, you have to deal in that world with through an agent, through a third party agency as a king or queen or a sovereign if you want to make it. That's how you're gonna have to do it. Or if you don't want to take part in that, there's ways to do that too. You know, which I won't go into all my. I'm not gonna give you all my trade secrets here because there's many other ways. I'm being very vague here, but there's ways to partake in that without compromising your sovereignty and without losing what you have. So learn. We need to get back to the earth. We need to get back to being able to touch our money and see our money. The good thing about cash being king is that, or queen, is the fact that you can spend your money more wisely. A lot of people, when they got that card, they just swipe, swipe, swipe. You're not really paying attention to anything. You can't go and keep calling the bank and looking to see how much money you got. I mean, every time you call the bank, somebody can compromise and take your passwords and your bank account, your PIN number. Every time you make use the phone, or every time you make a digital paper trail. That's what they want. They want you to keep going and tapping into the satellites so they can keep track of everything you're doing. And they know that if you start going back into the cash world, and it's still here. The world of cash still exists. Then they know that they can't really monitor everything that you're doing. They want to monitor everything. If you keep good receipts, you know, you can do your own taxes and, you know, you can take advantage of certain tax loopholes and things of that nature because you got cash in your pocket. So I'm schooling you, hipping you on. This is something really basic that a lot of older people know, but a lot of young people, they don't. All they know is the debit card, swipe, swipe, swipe. All they know is they get direct deposit, come straight from their check to their bank account. You absolutely have no understanding of economics because you're being treated like a baby or a minor, and they're giving you everything and just putting it into your account. You don't have really absolutely no control. But if you want to get into business, real business, and you people telling they want to be sovereigns and independent and free, I tell people you need to study economics to really be sovereign and free. I mean, all of this stuff about getting monies back from the government and signing paperwork, that's all really bullshit. It's not really even about that. It's about understanding how to control your money, how to control your business, and keeping it out of the control of certain agents and corporations, and how to live as a king. The king doesn't have a lot of moves. So you are at the beck and call of having other pieces. You need other pieces around you. You need agents and helpers. You need that. As a king and queen or a sovereign, you utilize the agencies. You need to understand how they work, though. You understand how the police force works as a sovereign. There's a certain way the police force works. Law enforcement, it's a certain way that they work. They're not your enemies. They like in the streets, you know, they scared of the police. They don't really like dealing with the police. They're scared of lawyers and stuff like that. You can use lawyers. I mean, but some lawyers are contracted with the bar association, but at the same time, there are certain lawyers that they understand your status. You can guide them through the legal process, like, yo, I need to do this, that, and that. Not going to court for you. I'm not talking about using a lawyer in that respect, but using a lawyer as to work on your behalf and to do bidding on your behalf. But if you're a really intelligent sovereign, the real high up ones and the kings and queens, you don't need any of that. The high up sovereigns live and keep both feet on land. They don't even deal in water at all, period. They don't deal in maritime admiralty law. But if they do, you got to put on a raincoat. You got to have a proper vessel, which it would be like a ship or a bank, to deal in that world. You may have to contract to use somebody else's ship or bank and have a certain contract with them, an internal contract with them as an agent, and make them your agent. So that's gonna do it for me. Cash is king. That's what's going on right now with this stuff. You're hearing about these banking wars and everything that you see on going on about the money. Know that it's a war going on between the sovereigns and the agents, and it's based on, a lot of it is based in these economies that deal in fiat notes, because they don't want fiat notes to go away, because if fiat notes go away, we're going to have to deal in the world of real live money where gold is backing the money. And that's what the sovereigns want to come back, because really a sovereign can't deal in any other type of realm, and they know that, so they want to keep that away. So that's what the true war is about: sovereigns versus the agents, the corporate fictions. So that's going to do it for me. Happy 2014 to everybody. This is my first video for 2014. Happy New Year. Until we meet again, namaste. Get that money, new money. Peace.